Okay, imagine this. You need to pull off something really secret, really critical. But instead of doing it at night, you do it, well, right out in the open,
Yeah.
in broad daylight.
And the trick is you rely on the fact that everyone's just so used to seeing something similar, they don't even notice the real move.
Exactly, that kind of move. That's strategic deception at its core.
It really is. It's like this high art form, a strategic trick that's been polished over centuries, becoming this, well, this philosophy for war and politics.
And that's what we're diving into today. One of the most, frankly, competitive and intriguing collections of strategic thought ever put together. The 36 Stratagems.
Yeah, this is a classic of Chinese strategy.
Think of this as your shortcut to understanding this whole compilation. It's full of these schemes, these ruses, these tactical plays designed purely to get an advantage in war, politics.
And sometimes just, navigating life. But first, we really need to get the terminology straight. The sources are quite specific here.
Right, stratagem versus strategy. Let's nail that down.
Okay, so a strategy, that's your big picture, your long-term plan, the whole campaign outline.
Right, the overall goal.
Exactly. And then within that strategy, you use specific stratagems. A stratagem is the short-term move, the tactical trick, the clever scheme, the immediate ruse you pull to outsmart a specific opponent right now.
Got it. So the strategy might be winning the market war, but a stratagem is that specific, maybe sneaky advertising campaign you run this quarter.
Perfect analogy. Now the history, it's a bit murky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like Sun Tzu where you have one clear author. This was apparently compiled by some unknown scholar maybe 300 years back, late Ming or early Qing dynasty.
That's the consensus, yeah. It wasn't one genius. It sort of evolved from stories, from oral history, things written down over time. It wasn't even widely known until, the 1960s?
Right, when the Guangming Daily newspaper published it in China, that's when it really hit the public consciousness.
Okay, so why 36? Is it literally just 36 tricks?
Good question. No, not exactly. The number 36, it's more like a metaphor. It signifies lots of schemes, like extensive deception.
Ah, okay. And the sources link this to the Yi Jing, right? Yin-yang theory.
They do. 6 is apparently the number for yin, which is associated with dark things, schemes.
Yeah.
So 36, which is 6 squared, just implies a whole bunch of them. Basically, many ways to fool you.
Which brings us to a really crucial warning, something you absolutely need to keep in mind as we go through these.
Yeah, this isn't about finding friendly solutions.
No, these are designed for competitive victory. Full stop. Winning here means the other side is defeated or they submit. There's no win-win concept baked into this philosophy at all.
It's pretty aggressive then. A zero-sum game where knowing how people tick, their weaknesses, that's your main weapon.
Absolutely. It's a worldview built on using human psychology for advantage.
Okay, so with that warning in place, let's look at how these things are structured. It sounds like they're organized for exactly that kind of high-stakes competition.
They are, very neatly. They're grouped into 6 categories, and those 6 fall under 2 big situations. Are you winning or are you losing?
Okay, let's start with the winning side. You're already ahead, you've got the advantage. What kind of plays do you run then? These are the winning situations.
Right. When you're on top, you want to press that advantage, lock down the win. So the categories reflect that. Advantageous stratagems, opportunistic stratagems, and attacking stratagems.
So 6 stratagems in each of those.
Yep. Each category has 6. These are the tools you use to really push down on a weaker opponent. Like George Orwell said, whoever is winning at the moment will always seem to be invincible. These stratagems help you amplify that feeling.
Makes sense. You're not scrambling to survive, you're maneuvering to dominate. Okay, but what about the flip side? The losing situations. What categories help when you're backed into a corner?
Well, then the goal changes completely, doesn't it? You're not attacking anymore. You need tricks to confuse the enemy, maybe shift the balance of power, or just, get away safely.
So the categories are different.
Yeah, the next 3 are confusion stratagems, deception stratagems, which sounds similar, but is about specific types of misdirection when weak, and finally, desperate stratagems. These are for when things look really bad.
So you use these to make the enemy maybe overestimate how weak you are, or maybe underestimate their own risks.
Exactly. It's about manipulating their perception when reality isn't on your side. That moment you realize you're losing, that's when you need to shift gears fast, maybe from an attacking stratagem straight into a confusion one.
That's a critical pivot point. Okay, let's dive into some specifics. Let's start with the winning side, with Stratagem 1. This one sounds intriguing.
Stratagem 1. Sneak across the ocean in broad daylight. also sometimes called fool the emperor and cross the sea.
Okay, sneak across in daylight. How does that work?
The core idea is, well, things that are familiar, routine, they just stop being interesting. People tune them out. And that routine becomes the perfect cloak for something extraordinary.
So the best secrets are hidden in plain sight because nobody's actually looking anymore.
Precisely. Familiarity breeds blindness, like you said earlier. There's a great story about General Xu Rengui and Emperor Taizong of Tang. The emperor was terrified of the sea, just refused to cross it for a campaign.
So direct orders wouldn't work. What did the general do?
He got clever. He invited the emperor to this huge multi-day feast inside what looked like a grand stationary hall. Lavish food, entertainment, the works.
Okay.
After a couple of days, the emperor starts noticing, a slight rocking, the sound of waves. He asks what's going on. Xu Rengui pulls back the curtains.
And they're already at sea?
Yep. Mid-crossing. The sheer familiarity of the feast, the routine of courtly life inside that hall had completely masked the reality of the journey. The emperor accepted it without realizing it.
That's brilliant. Okay, so the insight is
Yeah.
use the mundane to hide the momentous.
Exactly. And you see modern parallels. Think about Robert Baden-Powell defending Mafeking in the Second Boer War. Tiny force, huge number of Boers besieging him. He couldn't possibly fight them head on.
So he used stratagem 1.
He made them think he had massive defenses. He built some fake forts, sure, but the key was the routine. He had locals very visibly carry boxes around the town perimeter every day.
Boxes of what?
Sand. Just sand. But they were labeled mines, and this happened day after day out in the open.
So the Boers saw this constant mundane activity.
And totally internalized it. So later, when Baden-Powell put up minefield warning signs, the Boers absolutely believed him. They'd seen the mines being laid, they assumed the town was impregnable, and eventually backed off.
Wow, okay, the lesson. Embed your big move inside something highly visible, repetitive, but ultimately normal-looking and harmless.
Let's move to stratagem 2. This one's about fighting smarter, not harder. Besiege Wei to rescue Zhao.
All right, what's the principle here? Sounds like indirection again.
Very much so. It tells you straight up, don't attack the enemy where they're strongest. If they're concentrated, formidable, don't go head-to-head. Instead, hit something else they value deeply. Attack their weak spot elsewhere.
Their Achilles heel.
Exactly. This comes from a famous story involving General Sun Bin again. The state of Wei was laying siege to the state of Zhao. Sun Bin was advising Zhao's ally, Qi. Attacking the main Wei army directly, that would have been brutal, costly.
So what did Sun Bin do instead?
He didn't march towards the siege at Zhao. He took the Qi army and made a beeline straight for Wei's own capital city, Daliang, which was now less defended.
Force them to react.
Precisely. The Wei army had no choice. They had to abandon the siege of Zhao immediately and rush back to save their own capital.
And Sun Bin was waiting for them.
He ambushed them on their hasty, disorganized retreat. Brilliant move. The principle is, make your enemy solve a bigger problem than the one they're causing you.
You see this in business all the time, right? Like Canon versus Xerox back in the day in the UK copier market. Xerox was dominant, especially in London.
Right. Canon knew a frontal assault on Xerox's main profit center, London, would be suicide, so they didn't do that.
What did they do? Besiege Wei?
Kind of. They set up what they called a revolutionary base, way up in Scotland. Focused all their energy there initially. Built momentum, market share, geographically.
Turning on the periphery.
Exactly. Then they slowly pushed south, region by region, into England. Instead of one big battle, they forced Xerox to fight lots of smaller, scattered skirmishes for territory, gradually overwhelming them.
So the lesson for competition. Don't attack the big guy's core strength directly. Find a periphery, build your strength there, and force them to divert resources.
Makes sense. Okay, stratagem 3. This one sounds, well, a bit ruthless. Kill with a borrowed knife.
Yeah, the name says a lot. What's the core idea?
It's essentially about using someone else's strength, resources, or even their anger to achieve your goal, especially when using your own forces would be risky, costly, or maybe just politically inconvenient.
So make a third party do your dirty work. The whole enemy of my enemy is my friend. Or my weapon.
Exactly. Your weapon. There's an old story about Count Huan of Zheng. He wanted to conquer the neighboring state of Kuai, but Kuai was pretty strong. A direct attack was out.
So he found a borrowed knife.
He created one. He forged a document, supposedly from himself, promising big rewards to certain key ministers and generals within Kuai if the state fell, implying they were traitors working with him.
Oh, that's nasty. He leaked this document.
Made sure the ruler of Kuai saw it. The ruler, paranoid and furious, believed his own top people were plotting against him. So what did he do?
He executed them.
his own best generals and ministers. For treason, they didn't commit. After that, Kuai was gutted from the inside. Zheng just walked in and took over easily. The knife was the ruler of Kuai's own paranoia, triggered by Zheng.
Wow, that's cold. A more modern famous example must be the double agents in WWIII, right? Like Juan Garcia, codenamed Garbo by the British.
Absolutely classic example. Pujol fed the Nazis so much convincing false information that Hitler himself awarded him the Iron Cross. He was completely trusted.
But he was actually working for the British, a borrowed knife.
Totally. His most crucial deception was convincing the German High Command that the main Allied D-Day landings would happen at Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy.
And they bought it.
Hook, line, and sinker. They kept vital panzer divisions waiting in the wrong place, acting entirely on the faulty intelligence provided by someone they thought was their loyal spy. It was devastating for them.
So the principle. The most effective attack is often one that doesn't look like it came from you at all. Use intermediaries, use misinformation, make others act against their own interests.
Right. Powerful stuff. Okay, let's shift gears now. We've talked about winning. What happens when you recognize you're losing? You're on the back foot.
This is where we get into those other categories, right? Confusion, deception, desperate stratagems, time to turn the tide, or at least survive.
Exactly. You have to switch from offense to defense, or maybe something more subtle. Let's start with stratagem 19. Remove the firewood from under the pot.
Okay, I like the imagery. Don't tackle the boiling water, tackle the heat source.
Precisely. Don't confront the enemy's main strength, their boiling anger, or their large army directly. Instead, figure out what sustains that strength, what keeps the pot boiling, and take that away. Undermine their foundation.
Makes sense. Historical example.
Cao Cao versus Yuan Shao. Huge battle looming. Yuan Shao had this massive army, way bigger than Cao Cao's. Plus, Cao Cao was running dangerously low on supplies. Things looked grim.
So direct attack was suicide. He needed to find the firewood.
Right. Then a defector from Yuan Shao's side, Yu Yu, came over and gave Cao Cao critical intel. Yuan Shao's main supply depot, all his food reserves, were at a place called Wuchao, and it wasn't heavily guarded.
Oh, the firewood.
Exactly. Cao Cao didn't attack Yuan Shao's army. He led a daring raid directly on Wuchao and burned the entire food supply to the ground.
And the effect on Yuan Shao's huge army.
Devastating. Without food, morale just evaporated. The army disintegrated. Soldiers deserted in droves. Yuan Shao's power collapsed, not because of a big battle loss, but because Cao Cao took away the firewood, the supplies.
You can see how that applies today, especially financially or logistically. Cut off the money, cut off the fuel.
Absolutely. Look at how financial sanctions are used. Like when the U.S. Treasury froze Libyan assets under Muammar Gaddafi. It wasn't just pocket change. It was far more than expected.
What was the impact? Removing the firewood.
It created a massive, immediate cash crunch. Suddenly, Gaddafi reportedly had trouble paying his mercenaries, his loyal troops. It directly undermined his ability to maintain control, destabilizing his regime far faster than just military pressure might have. It shows how cutting off the financial firewood can be incredibly effective.
Okay, another defensive or maybe deceptive move. Stratagem 27. Feign madness, but keep your balance.
This one's fascinating. It's about playing the fool, basically.
Pretend to be crazy, drunk, incompetent, maybe even ill.
Exactly. You hide your real intentions, your real capabilities behind this mask of harmlessness or confusion. The goal is to make your opponent completely underestimate you so they drop their guard.
Lull them into a false sense of security. Who's the classic example here?
Has to be Sima Yi in the Three Kingdoms period. After Emperor Cao Rui died, Cao Shuang tried to grab power and sideline Sima Yi, who was his main rival but currently weaker.
So Sima Yi couldn't fight him openly.
Not yet. So he played sick, seriously sick, like frail, senile, barely hanging on. When Cao Shuang sent an envoy, basically a spy, to check on him, Sima Yi put on a master performance.
What did he do?
He acted confused, couldn't hear properly, apparently mixed up the names of his own sons, even dribbled his medicine all down his front. Just seemed completely decrepit and out of it.
Man, the envoy reported this back.
Yep. Reported that Sima Yi was finished, no threat whatsoever. Cao Shuang completely bought it, relaxed his vigilance around Sima Yi entirely.
Big mistake.
Huge.
Yeah.
Sima Yi was just waiting. The moment Cao Shuang and his faction left the capital city for an official ceremony, Sima Yi sprang his trap, launched a coup, seized power, and had Cao Shuang executed. The madness was the perfect cover.
It's almost like the Columbo character, The detective who always seems bumbling and confused.
Exactly. That's a great pop culture connection. Columbo is constantly underestimated by the clever, sophisticated killers precisely because he looks disorganized, asks seemingly dumb questions.
And that perceived incompetence is his greatest weapon. It lets him observe, gather clues, while the suspect lets their guard down.
Precisely. He keeps his balance while feigning confusion. It's stratagem 27 in a trench coat.
Okay, so stepping back from the specific stratagems, this whole deep dive really shows how crucial critical thinking is, right? Especially today with information and maybe disinformation everywhere. Recognizing these patterns is key.
Absolutely. Knowledge isn't just about knowing facts. It's about understanding how those facts or perceptions can be manipulated, recognizing when a stratagem might be in play, either by you or against you.
Professor Haro von Singer, who wrote extensively on this, had some ideas on how to use this knowledge, didn't he?
He did. He basically outlined 3 ways. One, obviously, is to use the stratagems yourself, take the initiative. 2, and this is vital, constantly analyze what your opponent is doing. Are they setting a trap? Which stratagem might they be using?
So defensive awareness. And the third,
Analyze the situation like a neutral observer, a spectator. Try to see the bigger picture. If you realize, they're trying stratagem 19 on me, removing the firewood, then you can anticipate their next move. Maybe they'll raid your supply base and you can react before it happens. Protect your firewood.
so anticipation, based on recognizing the pattern, is everything.
It's a huge advantage. Which brings us, fittingly, to the very last one, stratagem 36. This is the ultimate desperate stratagem, but it holds maybe the most practical lesson.
And that is,
If all else fails, retreat.
just run away.
Well, yes and no. It's not presented as cowardice. The sources are really clear about the hierarchy of losing. Surrender, that's total defeat. You've lost everything. Compromise, that's like half defeat. You gave something up.
But escape, strategic retreat.
That is not considered defeat. It's a tactical move. You're preserving your strength, your core ability to fight, even if you're yielding ground temporarily.
As long as you can pull back, regroup.
You live to fight another day. You still have a chance to recover, maybe find a better position, and potentially win later. Real defeat only happens when you lose the ability to fight altogether.
So the provocative thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Think about your life right now. Professional challenges, maybe even difficult personal situations. Is there one where continuing the fight in your current position is just not working?
Where maybe the smartest move, the most strategic move, isn't to push harder, but to execute a strategic retreat.
Not giving up, but repositioning. Choosing your battles so you can ensure you survive, regroup, and have the chance to actually win in the long run. Something to think about.